Hello everybody, welcome back. I hope you're all doing so well. This is going to be a double upload, so it's going to be a bonus upload for those of you in my membership website called The Kula, and it'll be a regular upload on YouTube. If you are finding this on YouTube, I hope you'll come join us in The Kula sometime. Come check it out. I'll post a code below for you to come hang out with us at a discounted rate for your first month. Kula is a Sanskrit word that means community or family, and it really is that. Honestly, it's such a beautiful community of people scattered literally all across the globe. I think we've had well over 100 countries move through the Kula since we launched in April of 2021. And I upload 3 classes every single week in there. We also have some really incredible guest teachers, and the people in the Kula are always the first to hear about in-person events coming up. I do have a 200-hour teacher training coming up in March of 2024, happening in Italy, and that will be 10 days in person with an online component as well. That is live and it is over half full, so if you're interested in joining in for the 200-hour, you can find that information below as well. And I'm getting ready to launch dates and locations for a 300-hour teacher training, as well as some continuing education modules coming up next year as well. So there's a lot going on here, and best way to stay in the loop is to follow us on Instagram, follow me on Instagram, stay up to date on our websites, and of course join us in the Kula as well. Okay, all of that said, let's go ahead and get started in a child's pose. Never a bad idea to have a couple blocks nearby for your practice. Yeah, child's pose, knees wide, big toes together, hips to heels. Walk the arms out long in front of you. And grounding into finger pads and into knuckle pads, and land here with a really big inhale, filling up all the way to the top. Maybe you open the mouth for your exhale, letting it go. Empty the breath all the way to the bottom. Rebound, refill all the way to the top. Inhale. Big exhale, let it go. One last breath like that through the nose. Inhale. Big exhale, move it through. Get rooted into finger pads and into knuckle pads, and let's round through the back body as we shift forward, kind of towards a tabletop position. Keep the knees as they are, and then broaden through the collarbones, lift tailbone, lift gaze as you send the hips back to the heels. So we're going to shift forward and back a couple of times. Round through the back body, shift forward. Broaden through the collarbones, lift tailbone, lift gaze as you pull hips to heels. So it's like a cat-cow, and adding that movement forward and back. Round, shift forward. Open through the heart space. Press into the heels of the palms as you send the hips to the back of the mat. Couple more. Round, shift forward. Broaden through the heart space, hips to heels. Press into the hands. Pull back. One more time, round, shift forward. This time, as you shift forward, take a step forward with the hands to create a little bit more space for you to drop the hips all the way down and forward. Roll the shoulders onto back body. Know that you can bend the elbows as much as you need to here for this to feel accessible for the spine. You could also play with kind of a bend and a straighten of the elbows, but either way, wherever you land, get strong into the glutes to support the low back. Tug the shoulder blades towards each other on the back body. Take an in-breath here. As you exhale, slow lower of the heart all the way down to the mat. Slide the hands underneath the shoulders. Tuck onto the toes. You might be ready to lift the knees, make it a little spicier, or you can keep the knees to the mat, but either way, let's press up to the top plank pose. Wrists underneath the shoulders, and then when you land here, circle out the wrists a bit. So shift forward, side, back, other side. Switch direction of your circles. Find your way back through center. So wrists under shoulders. Let's shift to the outside edge of the right foot and the inside edge of the left foot as you sweep the left fingertips up overhead. And then bend into both knees, pulling hips to heels, and as you do, extend the left fingertips towards the top of the mat. Straighten out through both legs, circle through center, find your plank shape, and roll it over to the other side. So outside edge of the left foot down, inside edge of the right foot is to the floor, right hand sweeps up and over. Pull the hips up a little higher, and then as you bend into both knees, traction the hips towards the heels and reach the right fingertips towards the top of the mat. Can you get long down the left side body? Straighten through the legs, you circle through center, find your plank shape, wrists under shoulders. You can drop the knees down if you need them to. A little nudge forward of the heart, and then bend into the elbows. Lower just halfway. So elbows hug into the rib cage. High plank. Press back up. 2 more times. Bend into the elbows, lower half. Plank pose, press to the top. Lower halfway. This time pull through to your upward facing dog, or of course you can go to the belly and find a baby cobra or another back bend of choice. As you exhale, roll over the toes. First down dog of practice. Send the hips up and back. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Let's take a couple breaths here and pedal at the feet. Bend into one knee, bend into the other knee, shift the hip side to side. Movement that feels good in the body. And connect to the rhythm of your breath. Big inhale with the nose, filling up all the way to the top. Big exhale out the mouth, let it go. Come up onto toes, bend into knees. As you exhale, step or hop the feet to the top of the mat, find your forward fold. Rebound, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold, let it go. Bend into the knees as you inhale, come up, chair pose. Feet are about hip width distance apart, sink low. Shift to the toes, let the heels lift. As you do, arms come back to airplane wings. Maybe hands come into fists here and you circle out the wrists a little bit. A little bit of a deeper bend into the knees. Get strong into the glutes, switch direction of the circles of your wrists. We're gonna stay on the toes. Can you send the hips all the way to the heels? Reach the fingertips forward. You can use the hands for help if you need as you drop the heels to the floor, hips to the floor, low boat pose, heels and heart to a hover above the mat. High boat pose, lift up, lower down, find a hover. Lift and lower, lift and lower. Final 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come up to the top, squeeze the heels into the glutes, reach the fingertips forward, nudge the heart towards the thighs, get the crown of the head a little bit taller, take an inhale. As you exhale, feet plant, lift the hips. Come up to that same shape where you're on the toes, heels are lifted. And then as the heels drop to the mat, lift the hips forward, fold, Uttanasana. Releasing crown of the head towards the floor. 1 vertebrae at a time. On your inhale, roll your way all the way to stance, articulating up the back line of the body, the 24 vertebrae that make up the column of the spine. Sweep the arms up and over, and once you get to the top, bend into both elbows and reach hands for opposite elbows up above the head. Now from here, we're gonna knit the low ribs in, pull the forearms up away from the top of the head, and then forearms towards the back of the room. Take an inhale, lift up and out of the waist. As you exhale, lean to the right, lengthening out down the left side body, stay rooted in the left heel. On your inhale, come back through center. Swap it out, exhale, lean left, lengthening out down the right side body. On your inhale, come back through center. Once more each side, exhale, lean to the right. Using your inhale, come back through center. Exhale, lean left. On your inhale, come back through center. Keep the arms as they are as you bend back into the knees. Send the hips back, send the heart forward. Once more, we're going to knit the low ribs in. So pull the navel in towards the spine. Can you lift the forearms up off of the back of the head? Here for 5, 4, 3, 2. On your exhale, forward fold, release the hands, straighten out the legs. Crown of the head reaches towards the floor. On your inhale, halfway lift, lengthen through the spine. As you exhale, fold, plant hands, step back into your plank shape, wrists underneath the shoulders. A little nudge of the heart forward. Bend into the elbows, lower half. Plank pose, press back to the top. 2 more times, knees can drop if you need, lower half. Plank pose. Last one, lower half. This time pull through, upward facing dog. And as you exhale, roll over the toes, downward facing. As soon as you get there, we're gonna roll right into the next. Come onto toes, bend into knees, exhale the feet to the top of the mat. In breath, halfway lift. Exhale, let it go. Bend into the knees, in breath, chair pose, hips back, heart forward. As you shift to the toes, heels lift, arms come back to airplane wings. Drop the hips to the heels. Drop the heels to the floor, hips to the floor, low boat pose. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2. On 1, come back up, high boat. Plant into the feet with or without the help of the hands. Lift the hips, lift the heels. As you drop the heels to the floor, hips lift, forward fold. In breath, roll your way up to stand. One vertebrae at a time brings you all the way up. Arms reach up and over at the top. This time on your exhale, we're just coming right back down, forward fold, Uttanasana. In breath, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, plant the hands, step back, plank pose. Bend into the elbows, lower half. High plank, press back up. 2 more times, bend and lower. Plank pose. Last one, lower half. Pull through, upward facing dog. As you exhale, roll over the toes, downward facing. We've got 1 more round, just like that. Bend into knees. Exhale, step or hop, feet to the top of the mat. In breath, halfway lift. Out breath, let it go. Bend into the knees as you inhale, come up, chair pose, hips back, heart forward. As you shift to toes, heels lift, arms come back to airplane wings. Sink a little deeper into the shape, take an in breath. As you exhale, hips to the heels. Heels to the floor, low boat pose. Heels and heart to an inch above the mat, hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. On 1, come back up to the top. Plant into the feet. Lift the hips, lift the heels, come up high onto the toes. And then as the heels root down, the hips lift, forward fold, Uttanasana. Meet the bottom of your exhale. Use the entire length of your inhale to roll all the way to stand. 1 vertebrae at a time, arms sweep up and over at the top, gaze to fingers. And then exhale, right back down, Uttanasana, find your fold. In breath, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, plant hands, plank pose, step back. 1 more time here, bend into elbows, lower half. Plank pose, back to the top. 2 more, bend and lower. High plank. Last one, lower half. Pull through, upward facing dog. And then exhale, roll over the toes, downward facing. Land here with a big breath in through the nose. And a big breath out, let it go. Have 2 blocks nearby. If you've got them in your house, have them near your mat. May or may not decide to use them, but either way on your inhale, sweep the right toes high, bend into the right knee, open hip. Option to stay here or to drop the left forearm down to the mat. So right knee points up towards sky, right heel squeezes into the glutes. As you exhale, left forearm lifts, shift forward, tap the right knee to the right elbow. And then kick it back, left forearm drops back down, right knee opens up to the sky. Again, forearm to the floor is an option, so you can also stay on both hands. Shift forward, lift the elbow if it's lowered, right knee, right elbow. Kick up and back, bend the right knee, open hip, maybe left forearm drops to the mat. This time, either with left hand to the floor or left forearm to the floor. Wild thing, right toes drop behind you. Let the right fingertips lift from the mat, drive the hips up towards the ceiling. Roll the right shoulder onto the back body. And then as you exhale, we're gonna come through to a forearm plank. So both forearms to the floor, toes to the mat, elbows underneath the shoulders. Take an inhale and an exhale. Walk the toes towards the elbows for a dolphin pose. Toes towards the elbows, as much of a bend in the knees as you need here. Come up onto toes, bend into knees. I'm gonna throw you guys right into the fire here. Ground into finger pads and into knuckle pads. As you hop off of the toes, let the forearms lift. Forward fold at the top of the mat. In breath, halfway lift and lengthen. Out breath, fold, let it go. Bend into the knees. In breath, come up, chair pose. Hips back, heart forward, sink low. As you shift to the toes, let the heels lift. Arms come to airplane wings. Maybe you sink a little deeper into the shape. This might feel familiar, but we are gonna switch it up from here. So we're not coming all the way down to the floor. Here for 1 more breath. Big inhale. Big exhale, let it go. Take 1 more inhale. And then drop the heels to the floor as you lift the hips, forward fold, Uttanasana. Shift your weight into the right foot and sweep the left toes high, standing split. Keep the left hip shifting down. Left toes sweep high, get strong into the glutes. Hands can be to the floor or blocks, or you could hover them off of the mat to test your balance. Slow bend into the right knee as you step the left toes back. High crescent lunge, upper body lifts. Arms extend up and over. Keep everything else the same, but now bend into the left knee until the left knee comes to a hover above the floor. Squeeze the feet towards each other on the mat, tuck the tailbone. Get taller through the middle fingers and pull the thumbs to the space behind you. Take an inhale. As you exhale, left knee comes all the way down to the floor. Now a couple of options. You've got blocks there for your hands if you need them. We're gonna send the hips to the left heel. And then peel the left knee from the mat until you can lower the left foot all the way to the floor. Right leg stays extended long. Again, hands to blocks or floor as you need. You could play with lifting the right foot all the way from the mat. Okay, here's where you might call in help from the hands. We're gonna ground into the left foot. As you inhale, come all the way to stand. Bring the right leg with you. All the way to stand, right leg comes with you. Right toes lift even a little bit higher. Maybe bring palms to touch at the heart. Squeeze the right heel into the glutes, lift the right knee a little bit higher, and then straighten the right leg out. Squeeze the right heel into the glutes, right knee lifts even a little bit higher. Now keep the bend into the right knee, a little hinge forward at the hips. We're gonna bend into the left knee until the right foot lands next to the left in your bear pose or some variation of your chair. Now we're at the back of the mat. Slight tuck of the tailbone, reach the fingertips up and forward. Maybe you sink a little bit deeper into the shape. Okay, we've been here. We're gonna shift to the toes, let the heels lift. And then on your exhale, stay on the toes as you lift the hips up, forward fold, drinking bird. Maybe arms come out to airplane wings. Take an inhale. Take an exhale. All right. As much of a bend in the knees as you need to bring hands to the floor. We're walking ourselves forward into a plank shape, wrists underneath the shoulders. Come to the outside edge of the right foot, the inside edge of the left foot to sweep the left fingertips up and overhead, side plank, right side. Bend into the knees, hips to heels. As you do, extend left fingertips out long in front of you. Straighten through the legs, roll through center, high plank. Right to the other side, come to the outside edge of the left foot. Right fingertips up and over, and then bend into the knees, hips towards the heels. Straighten through the legs, roll through center, find your plank shape. A little shift forward, and then bend into the elbows, lower halfway. We hold for 5, 4, knees can drop if you need, here for 3, 2. On one, pull through upward facing dog. And then exhale, roll over the toes, downward facing, send the hips up and back. Landing here with a breath in and a breath back out. On your next inhale, sweep the left toes high, bend into the left knee, open hip. Again, you've got the option to stay on the hands through this entire sequence, or you can play with lowering the right forearm to the mat. So right forearm down, heart nudges back towards the right thigh, press into the left palm. As you lift the right forearm from the mat, shift forward, tap the left knee to the left elbow. Kick the left toes up and back. As you bend into the knee, right forearm could drop to the floor. 2 more times, shift forward, left knee, left elbow. Kick up and back, bend the knee, open the hip, right forearm might lower to the mat. Last one, shift forward, left knee, left elbow. Up and back, bend the knee, open hip, right forearm to the floor. So whether you've got right forearm to the floor or right hand to the floor, option to roll it all the way open to your wild thing, maybe on the right forearm. Left fingertips reach towards the top of the mat. Drive the hips up towards the sky. On your inhale, roll through center, find your forearm plank. So both forearms to the floor, elbows underneath the shoulders. Maybe you take a little shift forward and back. Fire up the center line of the body. Again, pressing the floor away from you with the forearms to stay elevated out of the shoulder sockets. Walk the toes in towards the elbows, dolphin pose. And hold. Heart tractions back towards the thighs. Ground into finger pads and knuckle pads. Other option here is to be in your downward facing dog. Either way, we're gonna bend into the knees, plant into the hands. As the forearms lift from the mat, hop to the top of the mat, forward fold. In breath, halfway lift, lengthen spine. Use your exhale to fold. Let it go. Bend into the knees as you inhale. Come up into a bear pose shape, hips back, heart forward. As you shift to the toes, heels lift, arms come back to airplane wings. We're here for a couple breaths. Think of tractioning knees in towards each other just slightly. Maybe get a little higher onto the toes. Can you knit the low ribs up and in? Take an inhale and an exhale. Take one more inhale here. As you exhale, heels to the floor, lift the hips, forward fold, Uttanasana. On your next inhale, shift your weight into the left foot. Sweep the right toes high. So standing split, left foot is rooted, right toes sweep high. Maybe you play with hovering hands from the floor to test your balance here. Maybe right toes lift even a little bit higher. Slow bend into the left knee to step you all the way back into your high crescent lunge, right toes to the back of the mat, upper body lifts. Pinky edge of the hand rolls in towards each other, knit the low ribs in, take an inhale here. As you exhale, right knee comes just to a hover above the mat. Think of squeezing the feet towards each other on the mat, using that to tuck the tailbone down, get the right knee a little closer to the floor, take an inhale. As you exhale, soften the right knee all the way down to the floor. Again, blocks there for the hands if you need. We're gonna send the hips back to the right heel. Peel the right knee from the mat so you can work right heel towards the floor. It's also possible that the right heel never meets the mat. That's okay. Left leg is extended. You can keep the left heel down to the mat, or you can play with lifting it up. And then with or without the help of the hands, throwing you guys into the fire here, we're coming all the way to stand. Bring the left leg with you. Left leg is extended long. Maybe palms come to touch at the heart. Let's bend into the left knee. And as you do that, activate the back of the left thigh. So heel squeezes into the glutes. Now lift the knee a little higher. Can you keep the height of the leg now as you re-extend? Left leg long. Re-bend into the left knee. Lift the left thigh a little bit higher. Now a bit of a hinge forward at the hips, and as you do, a slow bend into the right knee. Left leg stays exactly as it is. You're bending into the right knee in order to lower the left foot to meet the right foot at the back of the mat. Fingertips reach forward. Bear pose. Side tuck of the tailbone. Shift to the toes, heels lift, arms come back to airplane wings. Inhale. Sink a little deeper on your exhale. We're gonna stay on the toes, but as you exhale, start to lift the hips up, drinking bird, straightening out through the legs. Keep the arms to airplane wings, of course, if you need to use them to the floor or to blocks for balance, for support, you can. And then as you're ready for it, see if you can stay on the toes as you drop the hands to the mat and walk yourself forward all the way into a plank shape. Wrists underneath the shoulders and pause. Roll to the outside edge of the left foot, inside edge of the right. Right fingertips sweep up and over, side plank on the left. And then bend into both knees, reach the right hand towards the top of the mat. As you inhale, roll through center, right hand plants. Swap it out, left fingertips open up as you roll to the outside edge of the right foot and inside edge of the left. Bend into both knees, hips pull back. Straighten out the legs as you roll through center, find your high plank. Little nudge forward of the heart, broaden through collarbones. Bend into the elbows, lower half. Plank pose, press back up. 2 more times, bend and lower. High plank. Last one, lower half. Pull through to your upward facing or any other back bend you choose. As you exhale, roll over the toes, send the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Landing here with 1 cycle of breath, begin through the nose. Big out through the mouth. 1 more time for that full sequence. On your inhale, sweep the right toes high. Bend into knee, open hip. Maybe left forearm drops to the floor. As you lift left forearm, shift forward, right knee taps right elbow. Kick up and back. Maybe left forearm drops to the mat. Shift forward, right knee, right elbow. Kick up and back. Maybe left forearm to the floor. Whether you're on the hand or the forearm, maybe roll open into your wild thing. Right fingertips reach from the floor, drive the hips up towards the sky. We're moving forward to a forearm plank, forearms to the mat, elbows underneath the shoulders, and pause. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, walk the toes towards the elbows, dolphin pose. Ground into finger pads. Come up high into toes, bend into knees. As you exhale, hop to your forward fold at the top of the mat, feet plant. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. As you exhale, fold, let it go. In breath, sweep the left toes high. Standing split, left hip shifts down. Maybe you hover the hands from the floor for a moment. Slow bend into the right knee as you step the left toes back. High crescent lunge, upper body lifts. Bend the left knee to a hover. Keep the tailbone tucked. So tailbone tucked down, pull the thumbs to the space behind. Soften the left knee all the way to the floor as you send the hips to the heels, left heel. Let the left knee lift from the mat. Right leg stays straight. Whether you have help from the hands or not, we're coming all the way to stand. Bring the right leg with you. It's okay if it's wobbly along the way. Lift the right toes a little bit higher, and then bend into the right knee. Hug the right thigh up towards right rib cage. A little hinge forward at the hips. You can bend into the left knee and deliver the right foot to meet the left at the back of the mat. Fingertips reach forward. Shift to the toes. Let the heels lift. Sink low into the shape. Take an inhale. Stay on the toes as you lift the hips, diving forward, drinking bird. Maybe arms come back to airplane wings. And as you're ready for it, hands to the mat. Walk yourself forward. Plank pose, wrists underneath the shoulders. Come to the outside edge of the right foot, inside edge of the left as left fingertips sweep up and overhead. And then circle through center and roll it over to the other side. Outside edge of the left foot to the floor, right fingertips up and over. Come back through center, right hand to the mat. We're gonna come back to the right side. So outside edge of the right foot to the floor, left fingertips sweep up and over, pause. Start to hug the left knee up towards the left armpit. Get the hips a little higher. We're gonna take a big step with the left foot all the way to the top of the mat. So as the left foot steps forward, shift to the right toes. Get lighter in the right hand. You could even pop up onto right fingertips as you roll the left shoulder open and scoop right rib cage underneath. Strength of the core lifts you all the way to stand. Keep the twist to the left. Wrapping lungs around the heart space. Take an inhale. Take an exhale, twist a little deeper. On your inhale, unwind open, warrior two, back foot spins flat. Fingertips reach long in both directions, let the shoulders soften back and down. Next inhale, reverse. Your warrior, right hand, right thigh, left fingertips reach up and over, so lengthening out down the left side body. As you exhale, cartwheel the hands to frame out the left foot. Let's kick the left toes up and back, three-legged down dog. Option for a little bit of a spicier vinyasa here, keeping the left toes lifted. Start to lower the forearms towards the floor. As you do, scoop the heart forward, rolling all the way through into an upward facing dog. And then on your exhale, downward facing, roll over the toes, send the hips up and back. Ending here with a big breath in and a big breath out. Last time, last side, our full sequence, left toes lift. Bend into the knee, open hip. Option to stay here or to drop the right forearm to the floor. As the right forearm lifts, shift forward, left knee, left elbow. In breath, kick back, bend the knee, open hip, right forearm to the floor, maybe. And then shift forward, left knee, left elbow. Kick up and back. Last time, right forearm to the floor, maybe. And then keeping either the right forearm to the floor or maybe you're on the right hand, option to roll open one last time into your wild thing. Left toes drop behind you, send the hips up towards sky and reach the left fingertips forward. Press the floor away from you with the right forearm. As you inhale, roll through center, forearm plank, elbows underneath the shoulders. Press the floor away. Walk the toes towards the elbows, dolphin pose. As much of a bend in the knees as you need in order to meet this shape. Ground into finger pads and into knuckle pads. Come up high onto the toes, big bend into the knees. Exhale, hops you to the top of the mat, forward fold. In breath, halfway lift. Exhale, let it go. Weight into the left foot. Right toe sweep high, standing split. Again, hands to blocks or floor or to a hover, testing balance. Either way, shift the right hip down a bit. And then a bend into the left knee, delivers right toes to the back of the mat. High crescent lunge. Upper body lifts, traction the left kneecap forward. Hips drop low. Bend into the right knee until the right knee is to a hover above the floor. Squeeze the feet towards each other on the mat. Tuck the tailbone down and forward. Take an inhale. As you exhale, soften the right knee all the way to the floor. Hips to the right heel, pull back. With or without the help of the hands. With or without the help of the hands, right knee lifts. Right heel drops to the floor, or maybe it doesn't reach, no worries either way. Left foot could lift, or it could stay to the ground. Either way, we're coming all the way to stand. Bring the left leg with you. Left toes lift high. Left knee bends, and then the leg lifts even a little higher. A hinge forward at the hips as you bend into the right knee, a slow lower of the left foot to meet the right foot at the back of the mat. Fingertips reach forward to start, sink deep into the shape, take an inhale. As you exhale, shift to the toes, let the heels lift, arms pull back to airplane wings, reach the heart forward. Staying on the toes, Lift the hips up towards the sky. Our last time here, drinking bird. Legs may or may not come all the way straight. No worries either way. As you're ready for it, hands to the mat. Walk yourself forward. Find a plank pose. Wrists underneath the shoulders. Come to the outside edge of the left foot, inside edge of the right foot. Right fingertips sweep up and over. Bend into the knees, pull the hips to the back of the mat. As you re-straighten, circle through center, right hand plants. Side plank, second side, left fingertips sweep up and over. Bend into both knees, pull hips back, reach left fingertips up and forward. Straighten through the legs, roll through center. Come all the way back to the left side. Right fingertips reach up and over. We're gonna pause here. Stay grounded in the left hand and in the outside edge of the left foot as you start to pull right knee up towards right armpit. Might take one big step or a couple little steps to get the right foot all the way to the top of the mat. Shift to the left toes. Right fingertips are up and over. We're keeping the twist of the upper body. As we root into the right foot, come all the way to stand. So keeping the twist to the right. Maybe you bend a little deeper into the right knee. Maybe you shift the upper body back a little bit more. Take an inhale. Settle here as you exhale. On your next inhale, warrior two, pivot open to the left. Left foot spins flat. Fingertips reach in both directions. Inhale, reverse your warrior. Left hand slides down the back line of the left leg. And then hands go to the top of the mat. Frame out the right foot. Kick the right toes up and back, three-legged down dog. An option for this kind of spicy vinyasa. We're gonna lower forearms towards the mat. As you do, scoop the heart all the way through like you're sliding the heels to the back, or the heels of the hands to the back of the mat. Upward facing dog. Downward facing, roll over the toes and the hips up and back. Take an inhale here. Just for the fun of it, let's lower the forearms to the floor, dolphin pose. And then lift the forearms back up, downward dog. And then, just for the fun of it, 9 more times, lower forearms to the floor and lift them up. Here's 8 and lift. 7, lift. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. On 1, lower forearms to just barely a hover above the floor, like elbows an inch above the mat. Squeeze the elbows in towards each other. Hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Drop the forearms all the way down to the floor, dolphin pose. Maybe walk the toes a little bit closer to the elbows. Come up high onto the toes. Bend into the knees. You might know where we're going with this. As you lift the forearms, hop to the top of the mat, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Pause here for a moment. Knit the low ribs in. We're holding the top of the inhale. Open mouth, exhale, fold, let it go. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen through the spine, pause. This time circle the hands around so they interlace at the low back. And keeping the interlace of the hands, exhale, fold back forward. Take a little bit of a bend in both knees. And then a lot of a bend into the right knee. And let the right shoulder hug towards the right knee. Keep squeezing the heels of the hands towards each other. And then swap this out for the other side. Left knee bends, left shoulder hugs in towards the left knee. And then find your way back through center. Release the fingertips down to the mat. We have done not a single arm balance or inversion today unless you've added them in on your own. So I'm just gonna give the option here to plant the hands. If you have handstand in your practice and you wanna go there, go for it. But otherwise, crow pose, shoulder width distance with the hands, knees to the backs of the arms, elbows or triceps, whatever your variation is. Heels chase the glutes, but if you're working on strength for your crow pose, you can also keep the toes rooted to the mat and work on finding strength here. Maybe lifting one foot and then dropping it down and lift the other foot. And maybe eventually both heels chase towards the glutes, toes lift from the mat. Elbows pull towards each other and elevate the back of the heart into the space above it. So whether you are inverted, whether you are in your crow pose, whether you're building strength by finding your alignment for crow, but then keeping toes rooted to the mat. Let's be here for another 5, 4, 3, 2. However you get there, let's meet in a downward dog. So you can step back, hop back, flow through. Eventually, downward dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana, send the hips up and back. Landing here with a big inhale, big exhale, let it go. Soften the knees to the floor. Untuck the toes, hips to heels. Just as a little bit of rehab for the wrists, let's interlace all 10 fingers and circle out the wrists. Switch direction of your circles. Press the heels of the palms forward, keeping the interlace of the hands except for the thumbs, and reach the heart for the space behind you. Heels of the palms up towards the sky. Pinkies pull to the space behind as you lift the tailbone. Lift the chin, lift the gaze, as much or as little of a back bend as feels supported here. A little bit more straight through the elbows. And then release the interlace of the hands, cross over the ankles, come all the way down to the back body. So scooting forward onto the mat so that you can land back to the floor. Thighs pull into the rib cage. Take a little bit of a shift side to side. Maybe some small circles on the low back. I'm gonna set us up for one last back bend, either bridge pose or wheel pose or both or neither. Supported bridge is also a place you can go, block underneath the tailbone. If you're with me for bridge, feet to the floor, hip width distance apart. Hands down by the sides. Root into the feet so that you can lift the hips. Driving hips up towards ceiling. Think of squeezing the heels towards the shoulder blades and letting that traction the kneecaps a little bit forward. Strong into the glutes, strong into the hamstrings. Maybe you tuck shoulders underneath you a little. Again, if you wanted to take this up into a wheel pose, Urdhva Dhanurasana, you could. And a slow lower, one vertebrae at a time, bringing the spine down to the mat, peeling yourself like a sticker onto the mat until the hips come all the way down to the floor. Once you get there, walk the arms a little wider, walk the feet a little wider, and windshield wiper both knees over to the right. Just pause here. Letting the legs be heavy, allow for the eyes to close if they're still open. And roll the knees through center, and then over to the left. Giving a little bit of a press into the inside edge of the right foot. Inhale, bring the legs back through center. Cross the right ankle over the left knee, and then without the help of the hands, use the tug of the left thigh into the right ankle to bring the legs as close to you as you can. So without the help of the hands. The strength of the left leg pulling into the right ankle to invite the legs as close as you can in towards you. And drop the left foot back down to the mat. Let's swap it out. Right foot to the floor, left ankle over right knee. Start by pulling left knee away from you. And then with the help or the pull of the right thigh into the left ankle, invite the legs towards you as much as you can without the help of the hands. And release, right foot to the floor. Left foot to the floor. Any little shift, hip side to side, legs side to side. Before landing in your Shavasana, legs extend long to the top of the mat. Arms out by the sides, palms face up. And you might take a moment here to give a little bit of a scan of the body, head to toe. Notice how the body is feeling after movement, after breath. Any adjustments and readjustments that you need to make to your shape in order to get any more comfortable here to support you in your stillness. And then we're here. We're here, and the invitation is to be here, not just in a physical way, but in the landscape of the mind and the heart. Can you pull yourself into the body and into the moment? Last couple of minutes in silence right here in your Shavasana. I'm going to leave us in Shavasana. When you're ready to make the transition out, make it slow and gentle and sweet along the way. Thank you so much for sharing your practice, for showing up in this space and being here together. I look forward to more of it soon. Namaste.